Hello students, this is Dr. Harshit Kumar Srivastava, Assistant Professor in the area of Economics. Today we are going to discuss a very important concept of economics, that is elasticity of demand and supply. We have already done that. What is demand? The first question that arrives in our mind is what is demand? So demand is various quantities of a commodity which a consumer is able and willing to buy at different price level. Now, in order to measure the quantum of change, we use elasticity of demand and supply. That is, now what is elasticity of demand? Elasticity of demand measures the total responsiveness of change in quantity demanded and quantity supplied with respect to change in price. That is, suppose if price of commodity increases by 10%. Now, we are taking price as independent variable here, and quantity demand or quantity supply as dependent variable. So let's say if price of commodity increases by 10%, and in response of that, if quantity demand decreases by 20%. Now, as you have already done this, that with the increase in price of a commodity, the quantity demand decreases. Now this has already been explained in law of demand. Now, when we increase the prices, the most obvious thing that will happen in quantity demand is that quantity demand is going to decrease. So let's say if 10% increase in prices decreases your quantity demand by 20%, then elasticity is 20% divided by 10%, that is 2. So through elasticity, we measure the responsiveness of change in quantity demand or change in quantity supplied with respect to price. Now, in case of demand, the relation that exists between price of a commodity and quantity demand is inverse. However, in case of quantity supplied, that relation is positive. That is, when price of commodity increases, suppliers, they will be more interested in supplying their commodities and quantity supply will increase. So in case the quantity demand and price relation are established, that is the negative relation, and in case of quantity supplied and price, the relation is established, that relation is positive relation. That is, in simple word, we observe direct or positive elasticity of demand. That is, we observe negative value in terms of elasticity when we calculate the price elasticity of demand. Why? Because demand and price, they have inverse relation. On contrary to it, when we measure the elasticity of supply, that elasticity that we calculate, we get that elasticity in positive number. That is, the sign that we denote is positive. Why? Because there is direct relation between price and supply. Now, as you have already done this, that what is the formula for calculating elasticity of demand? Percentage change in quantity demand or supply divided by percentage change in price. Now, when elasticity of demand, let's say, is greater than 1, then we call it elastic demand. That is, the commodity is more responsive to the changes in price. That is, when your price will increase, your quantity demand is going to decrease, and when price will decrease, your quantity demand is going to increase. But that extent is large. So your commodity is price sensitive. Now, what a manager should do when the commodity that they are selling, the elasticity of demand of that particular commodity is greater than 1. So it is very logical thing. Suppose, let's say, if the commodity that your company is making and selling, the elasticity of that particular commodity, the elasticity of demand of that particular commodity is greater than 1, then a manager should not increase the prices. Why? Because when you are going to increase the prices, you are going to lose the demand in a larger extent. So the best way is, rather you should decrease the prices and take advantage, rather capture the market. So it is the best solution that exists. On the other hand, if elasticity is less than 1, let's say if price has increased by 10%, as you already know that price is independent variable and demand is dependent variable, and demand decreases, but it decreases only by 5%. So this means 5% divided by 10% is equal to 0.5. This means 100% change in price is going to change your quantity demand by only 50%, and that too by decrease. Is going to decrease your demand by 50%. This means your commodity is inelastic with the changes in price. Your commodity is relatively less elastic in the changes in price. Now these days, the concept of elasticity is getting relevance across the world. Managers, they are more or less interested in finding out the elasticity of demand and supply so that accordingly they can plan. Now, take a numerical example. Let's say you have to calculate elasticity of demand when price has increased from 5 to 6. Now when price increased from 5 to 6, this means there is change of $1. This is, if you have to calculate the percentage change, then 1 divided by 5, that was initial price, multiplied by 100, that is 20%. And your quantity demanded decreased from 100 to 70, that is your quantity demanded decreased 30%. 100 minus 70, that is 30 divided by 100 multiplied by 100. So ultimately you will be getting the price elasticity of demand of minus 30 divided by minus 20, that is minus 1.5. that is, this commodity is relatively elastic. So what is the advisable course of action for that manager? He or she should not increase the prices, rather he or she should decrease the prices to capture the market. Now there are two methods of calculating elasticity. One is point elasticity method and the other one is arc elasticity method. Point elasticity method simply calculates elasticity on the particular point of demand curve or a particular price. Let's say if you are having demand curve and you want to calculate elasticity at point A or point B or maybe on any other point. So that particular price or point at which you want to calculate the elasticity is point elasticity. And arc elasticity is when your price is changing. Let's say if you want to calculate the changes in price, what is the elasticity due to the change in price, then the method that you are going to use is arc elasticity method. Now we use both point elasticity and arc elasticity based on our situation or this demand of this situation. If you want to calculate elasticity on a particular price, you calculate it with the help of point elasticity. On the other hand, if you want to calculate elasticity with the help of changes in price, you use arc elasticity method. So now let's discuss arc elasticity method in detail, and that too the proportionate method. In the initial 2 or 3 minutes of this recording, we already discussed the percentage method. The most simplest formula was percentage change in quantity demand to percentage change in price. Now the extension of that formula is proportionate method, that is delta Q by delta P multiplied by price into quantity. In simple word, change in quantity divided by change in price multiplied by the initial price divided by quantity. So this is how we calculate from arc elasticity method, and that's all. I hope you understood the concept of price elasticity of demand. Thank you.